Whirly Derby, Duel for Cardia, and MCON. This is staying in. I went to a yoga and sound bath experience a couple of weekends ago.
Oh, my word. Okay. Together or separately?
They were part of the same thing, but one after the other.
Oh, one. Okay. You weren't having a sound bath when you were doing.
No, that would be cray cray.
Yeah, because you can't hear the instructions.
Exactly.
I'm downward. What?
What are you doing at a yoga and sound bath?
What do you mean? What are you doing?
What do you think I'll be doing?
Well, I think I know what the yoga bit is, right?
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, like you're doing downward dog.
Yoga.
There we go.
Yeah, that's one.
You're doing upward dog.
Not quite.
They're all dogs. They're all dog related.
They're all just dog poses. But then, what's a sound bath?
Oh my word! Have you never had a sound bath before?
Is this one of those things where is this one of those things like salted caramel or avocado or I don't know, one of these things, or like chia seeds or one of these other like superfood, you know, when you get like trendy things that people go, oh, I can't believe you haven't had one of these things. Is a sound bath just one of those things whereby I'm just hideously out of touch? I
mean, it's not edible because all the examples you gave were all edible things. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's a fad or it's if it's something that has a tradition to it, but you can get different kinds of bathing that aren't just water. So I think it's in Japan. There's a big tradition of forest bathing, for example, where you kind of go and immerse yourself in the natural world to kind of detoxify.
So you go for a walk.
Yeah, but in nature.
But in terms of
right.
But in terms of sound, I think there is a long tradition of, you know, sound, especially being used in certain religious practices. So you have like Buddhist singing bowls, especially during meditation, the Om, the chanting,
Om sound,
right?
The Om sound, the bells, and I think that scientifically we know that sound does have an effect on our body.
Yes.
So sound baths sort of marry up the two. Sort of that you got the science. You know, frequencies do have an effect on our body. We know that. It's scientifically true. It's a trick that haunted houses use, for example. And then the spiritual, the universal frequencies, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers might say.
There's a word for it. I can't remember. It's called Harmonia Mundi or something. It's like the frequency of the earth or something. It's like tuning into that, as it were, for want of a better word.
Is that the brown sound?
There's different types of colours, yeah. I like the fact you went straight for brown.
Okay.
But like,
Is brown a sound? Yeah, it is. You can get brown noise.
Yeah.
Brown, pink, white.
Yeah. I've got and you can get the apps, can't you, on your phone? You can choose your own different shades of brown to listen to. But I also incidentally like the idea you'd have to be an incredible marketer to turn a haunted house into like, oh, it's just a sound bath, but just one that's a bit spooky. But yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of that sense. So I basically did 40 minutes of yoga in this giant teepee, me and like 18 other people. And I've never done yoga with a group before. I've only ever done yoga online.
It's really good.
Yeah, it was
a group.
Brilliant fun, like genuinely, and it was so good for me afterwards, feeling so stretched in that space. Except that, like, I was at the edge of the teepee, so when I was doing some of the moves, like, I kept cresting the top of it, and also they have like these hot fans around the edges, and that was hitting me from my right side, so I was cooking. It was like very much like hot yoga for me. But then what happens is that after we did that, you lie down on your mat and we were all asked to bring a blanket each. So you wrap yourself up in a blanket because your temperature starts to drop a little bit more now once everyone's lying down, you're no longer moving. And the person who was running it, who was very good, just started playing different instruments in the space. So Sam says you had the singing bowls. There was some percussive instruments, which were very, very sonorous as well there. I think something stringy. But there was nothing there that was going to really take you out of it. But it was lovely to kind of just be submerged in that sound. Although at one point, one of the singing bowls did break as she hit it, which kind of everyone just bristled in the space. And she was great. She could tell she'd been doing this for a while. She's like, oh my word, the energy in the space. I don't quite know what happened here. But like, there was a moment where it was almost like,
Stop it.
a needle coming off a record. As the singing bowl cracks, and then a string broke off another instrument as well. So it's like the entire band was just collapsing whilst we're trying to have this bath.
Did you have any synesthetic experiences? Because that's happened to me when I've had sound baths before. Is starting to see colours, shapes when you're immersed in the sounds. Did anything like that happen to you?
I see. I don't get it with sound. I get it with taste, but I don't get it with sound. Really.
What do you mean with taste? What happens?
Tell us more.
Well, have you never had that thing that like for me? I remember at university, I remember reading these books whilst I'd have my breakfast in the morning. This is my first year, my flat, and it was toast. And then years later, I read those books, and as I was reading through the chapters, I had the faint taste of toast in my mouth.
Really?
Is this why you don't mix your food when you eat it?
You're so I haven't done that for a while now, Sam. Like, can you imagine how I eat lasagna?
We often talk on this podcast. We go on and on about the death of cash, and the big G coming in with forcing us to use credit cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that this big move to big plastic has done is that, I don't know if you've noticed, but those things that used to be in McDonald's are not there anymore.
What?
They're sort of like,
what are you talking about?
Spherical.
Yeah.
And the top half was transparent plastic.
Yeah.
And the bottom half was like a plastic, but painted on it was a spiral shape and a hole in the middle.
Oh my gosh, Sam. Yeah. I used to get this at swimming baths as well.
Yeah. At swimming baths, maybe in a Sainsbury's or a Tesco.
Shout out.
Yeah.
And you put your 2p on the side, you'd let it go, and it would just go spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go spinning.
Yeah.
Spinners. Chip and pins. Done away with all that.
Yeah. Yeah. You somewhat outed yourself there with the amount of money that you were donating per spin.
Yeah.
Haven't you?
But
really?
but Sam's right. There are certain coins that work better and give you more satisfaction when they do the spin.
They did.
Yeah.
2p, good. 50p.
No chance.
Not so good. Yeah, no, 50p is no good. Yeah.
£2 coin, that's going straight in. That's not spinning.
But just like the classic ITV show Tipping Point brought back the penny push into our lives, like we never knew we were missing the penny push until Tipping Point. The big potato game, Whirly Derby,
That's what they call me.
brings back the classic spinning charity coin machine in a way that, I never thought I missed it until I played Whirly Derby.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions about this, Sam. Because
Go on.
I saw this game doing the round. So this is the game with the marbles, isn't it?
This is the game with the marbles.
So how does that become a strategic game, out of curiosity?
Right. So I realise I sort of gave a convoluted route into it, but honestly, it was the best way I knew to describe what Whirly Derby is. It is that coin machine that you used to find in McDonald's and Sainsbury's and Tesco's, and you'd put a coin in and you'd watch it roll around, and essentially what you were trying to do was, make the coin go round as many times as possible. So what Big Potato have done is that they have taken that and turned it into a game, okay, involving marbles. Okay. So you don't have to give up your own money, only when you purchase it for the first time, but other than that, it's marbles from there on in. And how the game works is everyone gets a quota of marbles, right? And there are then a series of races. And what you have to do on your turn is secretly everyone picks an amount of marbles that they'd like to commit to the Whirly Derby. It could be 1, could be 2, could be all of your marbles if you wanted to. Because the more marbles you've got in, the more chance you're going to have to win. And then the marbles all go into this tube, into this cardboard tube, and then they all get shaken up, and then the race is ready to begin. And this is the brilliant bit, and it really did take me back to those times when, standing in McDonald's and the 2 pence just slides out and it just goes and it just spins and it spins and it spins and it spins. And, I think Big Potato do really good stuff in terms of production-wise. Like, they're really, really focused on
definitely.
Using paper and cardboard but still kind of maintaining sort of high production values. I really do commend them for actually, making the vessel, the arena where the Whirly Derby takes place out of tin, or at least a metal of some sort.
Wow.
Because then you get that sound.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's almost like a sound bath.
That is a sound bath.
So the marbles go in, they're spinning round and round and round and round and round, and then from out of nowhere, the cheering begins. And before you know it, you're just shouting, "Come on, Blue! Come on, Blue!" Granny's there. Come on, Red! Yes, it's a red! And then the other wonderful thing about the production design of Whirly Derby is you've got this wonderful tin arena, and then there's this wonderful tin track that they roll down that's slightly serpentine. So it's not just like that the marble falls and directly comes to the bottom, and it like falls and goes on this circuitous route down to the end. So you have this wonderful time to enjoy or lament the colour of the marbles that come down. And you play a series of races like that, and whoever gets the most points wins. But here is the twist. First of all, there are only ever 3 lots of points up for grabs in a race. So before a race starts, you unveil 3 cards, and each card is worth different points. They might be all worth the same points. It's random. And then based off of that, you commit what you want to commit to the race. The people who come in the top 3 get first, second, or third dibs on what those cards are. Everyone else gets nothing. And the other twist is that even if you only committed 1 marble to each Whirly Derby, you would not have enough marbles to complete the game. So you've got this little refresh token, which means twice during the game you can get all of your marbles back into your hand. So there is a really interesting mechanic and strategy in terms of, right, when do I spaff all of my marbles? When am I really going to overcommit, knowing that actually we get into the end of the game and I've used up all my refreshes, so I could get to the end of the game and not have any marbles to commit. There is an extra layer on that, so there's like an advanced mode where actually it's not about the points on the cards, it becomes a set collection game. And so there are cards that you're actually really wanting to get because they are going to complete the set, and by getting certain sets, that's how you score points. I genuinely think that is probably the best way to play the game out of the box, because it really leans into that, right, when are you going to commit and when are you going to overcommit to certain pots, because otherwise you're just going for points every time. So the set collection game really adds a little bit of spice to it and kind of feels like that is where the game started, and then it was pared back a bit to kind of make sort of like a quote-unquote family version of the game. But families that I've played it with can kind of handle the set collection stuff quite easily. And then there's the other thing, which is called the Thunderball. Yes, the Thunderball is a marble which is exactly the circumference, or just over the circumference of the hole within the middle of the Whirly Derby arena. So it means that someone who's not doing very well can get hold of the Thunderball and commit it to a race and essentially plug the hole before the race is finished. If they plug the hole and there's loads of marbles left, they get loads of points. So the Thunderball is brought in as this way of kind of really trying to even out the playing field. But at a base level, just for an experiential game, it has the same secret sauce, not quite, but the same secret sauce that something like Strike does, in that there is something primordial about watching marbles roll around a little tin and seeing which one's going to come first, and it is always a joy.
Gosh, I mean that sounds fantastic. It sounds like it's doing the same kind of trick as games that we've seen in the past, like Slots and Daggers and Balatro and things along those lines,
yes,
where they're taking old gameplay ideas or just old mechanisms and giving them a new lease on life. You know, we've joked about it in the past, but there is something. I'm going to be very careful with my words here.
Go on.
There's something very enjoyable about gambling.
Well, we have spoken about this in the past.
You're making bets on things, right?
Yeah. In a very, very safe space.
Exactly.
Making a bet.
It's the same way that
something.
it's the same thing with the penny pusher, right? You're putting 2p in to see do you get the 2p out, right? Like that's part of the fun. And I quite like this idea that you're sort of betting on almost like a horse race, as it were, of marbles. Like, are you going to be able to do this? But you're able to. But there's more skill in it than that, because this Thunderball idea, as soon as you said that, I was like, that sounds like a great ad, right? Like, and the strategy of like, are you going to hold back your refresh tokens, that kind of thing. It sounds like there's more to it. But at the end of the day, it is fun to see how physics works, right? Like, it's just fun to see physics happening in front of you.
Mm. Sam, can I ask a question? Because I too am really taken with that Thunderball idea and also the set collection aspect. As you've been playing it, do you think that the game would benefit from additional wrinkles like that into it, or do you think this is enough, really, for what it is?
I think in some ways the set collection isn't as robust as it probably should really be. I think in some ways it's kind of classic big potato in a way. It's kind of a really, really good idea, executed superbly in order to, meet their, production targets and getting it out to market for a really, really good price, getting as many eyeballs on it as it possibly can, and making a really, really good game, but it not necessarily being a game that has much longevity, if that makes sense. Because I think like we've all had that experience with big potato games, right? So
yes, definitely.
We've bought them, really, really exceptional price, played them for a weekend, played them to death for a weekend, a couple of weekends, maybe a month or two, and then got another big potato game and played that. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, because I think that there would be if their hit rate wasn't as good as it is, but the fact that they've maintained a really exceptional quality hit rate throughout this time, I think goes to show that kind of works for them. Well,
that, and they're not in the business of making super deep strategy games, right? Like that's not their business model. Like,
absolutely, but there is Whirly Derby by Reiner Knizia, and that could be like something exceptional, where the set collection has bite and depth and doesn't feel as random as it does in Whirly Derby. And that's kind of the problem. Is like, it's a set collection game, but the reliance on randomness is too great, in terms of, first of all, you've got to rely on the cards that you want coming out into the center, and then you've got to rely on winning another game of chance just to get the sets that you want. And I feel like a game that maybe had 1, 2, 3 more steps in the design process would have found some way of mitigating that randomness, or found some way of circumventing that. But then I'm kind of going to contradict myself by saying that, but they don't need to do that, because it's not that kind of game, it's not that kind of audience, and I'm only thinking that way because that's just how my brain works, and I played like thousands of games, and
like it's the for me in like video game lands, for example, it would be like saying, well, why isn't Mario Party the super deep, right? It's like it's because you don't play Mario Party every single day. You play it when your family's over for Christmas, or you play, you get together when you've got some friends and you've had a few, drinks and a pizza or something like that. And you're not looking for each of those mini games to have like an insane strategic depth. You're looking for, we're going to have fun with this. And it doesn't really even matter who wins. It's just we had fun doing the thing together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think of all the times that I've played Whirly Derby, it's only been me sitting in the corner thinking, oh, I wish that the set collection was a little bit more strategic than it is. Like everyone else is just like, oh, that was just, anything could have happened, and it was exceptional fun playing it, and we want to play again, and that's it, and that's critically all that matters, really.
Here's a question for you, Sam. If you know what this is, Kris, I'll ask you. What is this?
Now, Pete, that looks like a mobile phone with a very big attachment on the back of it.
It is a mobile phone with a very big attachment on the back of it. It is a controller. And that bit of Foley that you just heard there, let me make that little sound again. Hold on. Ooh, that's nice. That is the sound of the MCON. I think that's what it's called. It's from Snap. And it's MCON in the MCON. So at the moment there is a bit of a thing happening in the gaming space, which is, well, twofold really. The first is we are seeing a lot more Android devices and Linux devices that are being used as dedicated retro gaming handhelds, and by that I mean emulators, right? You can also play modern games on those. We'll get to those in a second as well. But basically, devices that are usually Android, sometimes Linux, that take various different form factors, some of which look like Vitas, some of which look like PSPs, some of which look like they've fallen off the back of a lorry. That thing is kind of happening. There's a really great YouTuber called Retro Game Core, which goes through all of that stuff. If you ever want to look into any of those things, that's a great shout. And funnily enough, Retro Game Core was where I heard about the MCON, because the other part of the gaming space on these kinds of handhelds, there's a bit of a thing going where people are interested at the moment in controllers for their mobile telephones. So you got your smartphone, and at the end of the day, a smartphone these days is essentially a supercomputer, right? Like, it can do a ton of things, right? The latest Snapdragon processors, Google's Tensor stuff, all of these things. There's a ton of grunt under the hardware under the hood at the moment with these things. You're carrying around a computer, and you have been for a very long time. And people have been thinking, well, why can't we use these with controllers? We're going to play games on these things. We could turn these into more gaming-related handhelds. And I think you see that with things like Steam Deck and Switch and all those sorts of things. You've seen those devices as well, where people want that slightly more cozy, bit more personal thing. They want to return to the Game Boy days of your device having some me time with this thing. And so the MCON is one of those controllers specifically designed for mobile telephones, right? And so I backed this on Kickstarter a very long time ago now. I think it was maybe a year or so ago. First of all, a Kickstarter that managed to deliver on time. I think that deserves, I know, right? You're making faces, but for
Saints
real,
be
like,
praised.
Hey, pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to gaming. The company's called Snap. They've made a bunch of different things in the past, but I've never really been interested in the stuff that they've had. Just, not that they're bad, just they're not in my wheelhouse. But when Retro Game Core was talking about the MCON, I found it really interesting. So the history of the MCON is basically there's this YouTuber, hadn't heard about this guy beforehand, a guy called Josh King, who basically, he's got this YouTube channel where he talks about him wanting to figure out how to make a handheld for mobile gaming, because he thinks that mobile gaming is sort of hit a bit of a rut, effectively. And as an mobile games journo, I can see what he's talking about, right? Like, there's a lot of free-to-play nonsense, there's a lot of all that sort of stuff, and also sometimes you don't want touch controls when you're playing these action games, which it sounds like Josh is kind of sort of mid to hardcore player that wants to be playing things that are, twin-stick shooters, and playing those things on a touch screen can often be not so good. So he basically sets about putting together a prototype, I think using his own money and his own time. I think he might have even dropped out of college to do this or something like that, where he was trying to make a controller for himself. And he got so far, and then this Snap company comes along, some other stuff happens, and basically they work together to put this device together. And I decided to back it because I thought it was a really interesting idea, and I wanted to see where they would go with it. And it's in my hands, and I've been playing with it for the best part of probably about 2 or 3 weeks by the time that this podcast goes out. And boy, oh boy, it's really interesting. It's a really cool piece of hardware. I've been using it a lot, and it has made me reconsider mobile games in a different way, and certainly using my phone in a different way. So, just to describe it to you, what you get is either a black or a white, or if you back the Kickstarter, a clear. And I'm the sort of fool that likes clear stuff. Case. And on that case is it looks kind of unassuming. It kind of looks like, I don't know what you'd say. Like maybe if you turned a DS around and you saw the underside of a DS, it kind of looks like a little bit like one of those.
But on a mobile phone, it looks like one of those little battery banks that people stick to their phone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And there's a little button at the top, and you press it, and that flicks out the actual device itself. So what happens is with that flick, what you're hearing is the cover of the controller flicking up to reveal the controls underneath. But the cover itself is MagSafe. And if you don't know what this stuff is, basically there is a magnet in pretty much most modern Apple devices. And now they're in the Google Pixel 10 and the other range of devices. And you can get I think you can get other Android phones with MagSafe as well, but you can also get cases with magnets in that basically just do that. And the idea is that basically you can put something on the back of a device and it's magnetized and all that good stuff. Often used for wireless charging. So it has one of these MagSafe things. And what that means is I can just put the device, my phone, onto the actual holder itself. And now that is being held in place and it won't move. I can move it about fairly rigorously. I mean, more than I would when I was playing a game, right? And it won't move. It will not, it won't budge from that space. Underneath this cover, you have your controls, and it's pretty much what you would kind of expect. You have 4 face buttons, A, B, X, Y. You have your up, down, left, right as a D-pad. And for those interested, D-pad feels like a Vita D-pad, aka one of the best D-pads. It also has dual sticks, a left and a right, and they are recessed into the device slightly. So it does feel slightly odd for if you've been playing a controller with, like on a PlayStation 5, for example, the sticks are above, right? They're above the surface, whereas these ones actually lie flush with the device itself, which can be a little bit strange to get used to begin with, but it's no different than getting used to a controller like a GameCube or a Dreamcast. Like, you get used to the controller, basically, and you go, oh yeah, and you can do all the things that you want to be doing after about 10 minutes of play. Your start and select equivalents, a home button, a button I don't really know what it does. I think it's sort of like, is maybe the back button. That seems to be what it does on my Android device. And then it has an L1, an R1, an L2, and an R2. The L2 and R2 are analog, so they will do different variations of pressure. And on the sticks themselves, there's an L3 and an R3, where games, ask you to press in on the sticks themselves.
That's really cool.
And then you can press the extend button. Again, what that does is it separates the face plate from the controller, and this is basically a stand. So where you've got your switch, and you can stand a switch up and then take the Joy-Cons out and play, this face plate also acts as the same thing. So I can use my controller in one hand, do whatever I want with it, and then I can have this on a surface, for example, right? And it all goes just straight back into the device itself really easily. I'll click that back in. So it has all of that stuff. All the buttons feel really good. All the controls feel really good. They have. I'm not a hardware guy. I don't know much about them. Apparently they're called something like Hall sticks or something like that. And apparently they're meant to be quite good. I don't care. Whatever it is, they feel very good. And like I say, I've been using it on mobile phone games and other kinds of games for a little while now. The other interesting thing with a couple of interesting things with this is there's these little sticks that fold out from the back. So if you want, you can now turn this into like a bigger controller, right? So there are little sticks that you can grip onto, little grips that give you even more grip, I suppose, over the device itself, which are, again, really lovely little extra. There are a couple of other accessories that they do with it. I've not got them. I've not tried them. One of them, but the interesting one that I think is potentially of interest to people, but not of interest to me because I have a Steam Deck, something called the MCON dock, which will turn your phone, basically it will connect your phone to your television via HDMI, and now you're using your phone on your TV screen, plugged in underneath the device, that kind of thing. So again, you can turn it in. They say turn your phone into a console, which interesting idea. And yeah, I've been playing around with it for a few weeks now, and this thing's wild. Like, super cool.
Have you found that you have started playing different types of games because of the addition of this peripheral?
That's exactly it.
Right, okay. So what sort of games do you, in your personal opinion, have really benefited from having this?
Okay, so if you have a mobile phone, hopefully you've got the Epic Games Store app on your phone. And if you have, you basically get a free game every week for your mobile device. So on Android, I've been downloading all sorts of games for free every week, premium games that have turned free. So, for example, there is Dead Cells. That was given away by Epic on their app. That is a search action game, so kind of like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That they gave away for free. That has controller support. That works perfectly with this device. Because, yes, you can play it with touchscreen controls, but if you're going to play precision platformers, you might want to play with something that's actually got the precision of a button, right? And if you're with Bluetooth, the lag is really it's really not noticeable to the degree that most 99% of all players are going to notice. Like maybe if you're playing super high level hardcore fighting games, maybe you might notice. But at that point, why are you playing it on your phone? Get back to your joysticks and on your arcade boards.
Yeah.
You can also increase it by connecting wirelessly to the dock. You can make that even faster, basically. But yeah, so I've been playing that. I also have a game on here that I did purchase on Google Play that I'm going to talk more properly about at some point soon on the podcast, hopefully, called Final Fantasy III Remake, I think it's called. It's basically a 3D remake of the Final Fantasy III from many, many years ago. And the reason I stopped playing it was because I just didn't like the touch controls. I think Square Enix does a slightly naff job of touch controls generally, whereas the game itself is really fun. So I booted it up, and lo and behold, it's got regular controls. So I've just been doing that, and it is so much better, and I've got so much further with it now.
What's been the compatibility like? Has it been pretty seamless, like getting it to run?
Yeah.
And for games to recognize it and your phone to recognize it, and
yeah,
do you still end up with the touch screen controls ghosting on the screen? Or
no, that's really interesting. So a lot of games, especially games that you would think, how have they done that with touch controls, usually come with regular controls built in anyway, because if you're a game developer, if you've made the game with controllers in mind, you basically just leave those inputs on. I mean, it's a bit more than that, but it's not a huge amount more. So a lot of the games certainly on Android, I think on iPhone as well, they basically just have native controls. And what that means is that the touch controls just fade into the background. You don't see them anymore, which is great. And that means you can experience those games as you would expect to experience them, just on your phone, on a smaller screen. In terms of game compatibility, obviously not every game out there is going to have controls. And I don't think the Google Play Store especially does a very good job of actually surfacing this has controller support. I think it would be really nice if that store did that a little bit more, because I do see these controllers becoming more and more and more important for people, basically. Like, there's an entire generation that grew up playing Angry Birds, and they've been playing on their mobile phones for years, and now they're getting into mid and hardcore games. Now they're starting to think, well, actually, I'd like something that gave me a bit more of a thing that's a bit closer to my Xbox, right? And that's what this thing is doing. You also asked whether or not it changed the kinds of games I'm playing. Yes, they are slightly more hardcore, but they also... Here's another thing, and I don't want to blow anyone's mind on this, right? But
strap in.
You can emulate video game consoles on your mobile phone today. So
for just £2 a month.
For just £2 a month. So let's say, for example, you have a large PlayStation 1 library, like I do, sat right behind me, of original PlayStation 1 discs. And you haven't played any of those things for a really long time, because you're not going to get your PS1 out, are you? Like, you think you might, but you won't. You're certainly not going to hook it up to your big television and figure out, I haven't got an HDMI connector and all that sort of stuff. You can rip those CDs on your via a media drive onto your computer, put those ISO files onto your phone, and suddenly now get yourself a PlayStation emulator, and now you are playing PlayStation 1 games that you own on your phone, right? And they're right there. They're all stored there. They're not more than 800-900 megabytes, right, of game. And you've probably got 30 gigs, 40 gigs of space on your phone. Now, this is obviously not me sitting here advocating for piracy, because that would be me cutting my nose off to spite my face.
But you are, though.
But what I'm saying is...
If he owns them legally.
If you own these things legally,
exactly.
If you own these things, and also if you can't buy them anywhere else, you literally aren't harming anybody in this.
Nintendo.
In this situation. Well, I'm not calling out Nintendo, but the point is, but the point is, so for example, right, I own a copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night on about 3 different platforms, right? I've got a PS1 original and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to grab that PS1 original and I'm going to play that on my device. And you know what? It plays brilliantly on a PS1 emulator. You go and get yourself a PlayStation 1 emulator, it works perfectly. And with this controller, it's amazing. Like, you're not futzing with the touchscreen. You are seeing the whole thing and you're playing it on that device. And the other cool thing, and I've not tried this yet, but this is where this is going with the sort of convergence of what's going on in the world of video games right now. If you haven't been keeping up, Proton, which is the layer that the Steam Deck uses to basically emulate Windows to run Windows-based games on a Linux device. Nothing shady about any of this. This just converting DirectX file executables into whatever. Shouldn't be shady because Valve's selling you one, right? They are getting SteamOS to work on ARM devices. Now, what that means is your phone is probably running an ARM device. So right now you can get hold of software that will allow you to sign into your Steam library, download your Steam library onto your phone, and play PC video games on your mobile right now. Let alone the fact that I can also do the thing that, Sam, and I think Dan's got one now as well, right? You've got your PlayStation Portal. That's what it's called?
Portal. Me and Kris have got one.
You and Kris have got one, right? So have I now. Because I can stream from my PlayStation 5. I can't do the streaming, online streaming without connecting to the device. I can't do that yet. I can do it with Xbox Live though. I can.
But you've always been able to do that with your phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just haven't had the.
Absolutely, I've not had the controller to be able to do that. So now I have the equivalent.
Yeah, you have.
Have I?
this is what I don't get, is the fact that you've been able to do this with your phone for years.
Yep.
Like, for example, I've got a little 8-bit Do Lite 2, which has 2 analog sticks, D-pad, L2, R2, R3.
Where's the phone?
It's not see-through though, Sam, is it?
It's not. You can't. You probably can't get see-through ones, but
You definitely.
this works with my Steam Deck. This works with my Switch. This is smaller and thinner.
Yes.
Than what you've got.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And cheaper.
Yep. 100%.
30 quid. So, what's the difference between stuff that's been on the market for years and this now? Like, what is categorically the difference? You've been able to do what you can do now with this for years. So, what is categorically the difference?
For me, it's the convenience. I know this is going to sound bonkers, but the fact that there is this magnet on it and it is connected to the device at all times, right, means that I am just sat here with this as the device. I'm using it as a single piece of device, right? I don't have to, though I absolutely can if I want to. I don't have to find a table to put it on, to put my phone on, so that I can hold my controller separately and I have two different things, right? Like the 8-bit Do controller that you're showing there doesn't have that ability to have that personal connection like this. You would still have to put that somewhere on a surface, right? Now, I will say this. You can get a PlayStation 5 controller and a doohickey that I think Sony will sell you that sticks onto it.
I've got one, yeah.
Right. But the cost of a PlayStation 5 controller and one of those things, you're getting very close to the price of this thing as well, right? And I would also say that the difference between, and I like 8-bit Do, I do actually have another 8-bit, I do have an 8-bit Do controller. I think they're very, very good. But I would say this, there was a video I watched on the Kickstarter where they said, oh, and actually I've started using this as my main controller for my games consoles now. That, I think, is marketing nonsense. I don't think that this is quite as good as a dedicated device for something like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series or whatever it is. Like, I think the PlayStation 5 controller is brilliant because it is just doing that one thing, right? And also it's made by Sony, right? A huge company. Whereas this is, oh snap. And they're, no shade to them. They're not Sony, right? But the quality of this controller, the MCON, is miles ahead of 8-bit Do. Like the tactility of the face buttons and the D-pad, it feels like that Vita pad, which is just moire. Like, it is beautiful. These sticks feel really precise. When I'm using them, when I'm driving around doing my laps, I'm able to get proper precision out of these things, right? There is a gyroscope within the device itself. I don't use it because I don't give a toss about that stuff. But there is a gyroscope in here as well if you wanted to use it for gyroscopic controls. This thing will connect to multiple devices. So you can say, this is connection 1, it's my mobile phone. This is connection 2, it's my tablet. This is connection 3, it's my PC. And I'm connecting each time. I don't have to reconnect to everything properly. I can just say button 1, button 2, button 3, right? And I think also the reason this thing is $150, which I will say, I got this for, I think it was a slight discount that the Kickstarter was on, something like that. It might have been 130 or something like that. I think that you're also paying a premium because this is a niche.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is, at the moment, this is a niche. And that you're served well by a 30 quid 8-bit Do controller, right? But it has its limitations. It has things that it can't do in terms of convenience that this thing does do. And I believe they're actually working on another MCON at the moment. There's like a more entry level one. I believe that's, I think, what's happening at the moment. So there is clearly that. And I think at that point, when you're starting to push that price down, it gets really difficult to start justifying buying a PlayStation 5 quality controller and the little stick thing and lugging that thing all around with you in a bag, whereas you can just have this one thing that acts as a completely protected case, chuck it in your bag, and you're golden. You can forget about it until you want to play a game. You don't have to just take that PS5 controller around with you around town like some sort of lunatic on the bus. You just have this thing.
I took a punt on a little card game that cost me about 10 quid. And it's generally become one of my favourite games of this year. And I know we're only in February as of recording.
We are.
But I've really, really loved this game. It's called Duel for Cardia. It's from Matthew Rivero and Fauzi Bougida. And it's a simultaneous action selection game, which basically means you and an opposing player. It's a 2-player game, ostensibly. You reveal a card at the same time, and then you compare cards, and something happens. And we've played a few of these kinds of games, particularly Sam. We've played games like Compromat, Lost Cities. There's been a few of them of simultaneous action games where we reveal the cards at the same time, and we see where each other lies.
So do you mean like are you doing it like in an auto battler way, so like Wizards Cup and Tag Team, or? So
basically you're going along a row, so we'll reveal a card opposite each other. Whoever wins that bit, okay, they've won. Next set,
right, okay.
Then you do it next to it, and basically it's the first to 5 points essentially.
Okay,
and it's very simple. So Pete, if you and I were playing, you would have a hand of 16 cards. I would have a hand of 16 cards. The cards are identical to the other players. Mm-hmm. The numbers 1 to 16 are on them. And you shuffle each of your respective decks, you draw 5, and then you pick one of those cards to play face down in front of you, and you reveal them both at the same time, opposite each other. And the numbers 1 to 16 are on the cards in total, and whoever has the highest number wins that particular round. Very simple. Mm-hmm. But what's really interesting is whoever doesn't have the highest number, they get to activate the ability on their card, and the other player can't do that. So this is where the interesting kind of game of it appears, really.
Yeah.
So,
and let me guess, the number 1 card has a really, really amazing ability on it.
Do you know what? I've been burnt since when I spoke about Agent Avenue, and you kept going on about me reading about out every card. I thought, no, I'm not going to talk about the card specifically today. So
it wasn't really the fact that you talked about the cards. It's just it did go on for quite a bit.
It was edited sensitively, though. So number 1 card, I've literally just been able to pick up. So that means I get to discard both this card and the opposing card, which means that player wouldn't win that round.
Okay.
Because when you win the round, you take a lovely little chit, a little prestige token here, a little token here, and you put that on your card to show you've got that point. And the reason why you do that is because at any moment somebody else could play a card subsequently in the game, which means that you may be able to have that point taken off you and given to them. Right. And there are other cards that add little modifiers. So, for example, you may be thinking, listener, well, how could I ever win with card 16? How could I ever use the ability on card 16?
Yeah.
Well, there is a card that you can play that allows you to put a -5 modifier on the next card you'll play. So I could theoretically play a 16 with my -5 modifier on it. If the other player has played a card that happens to be higher than that, I get to reap that reward there and then. So actually, winning a round is not a fixed thing. And it's a really lovely little puzzle that doesn't stretch your noodle too much as you're kind of playing, working along it. And it's literally the first to 5 of these kinds of points. And what you can kind of find yourself doing is that you're so obsessed with trying to activate your card's points that you don't recognize the other player is walking away with the win, because all they're doing is saying, I'm just going to play the highest card in my hand each time. And I've played several games of this, and there is just something, you were speaking about something primal earlier, Sam, about watching marbles spin around a tub. There is something really lovely about the fact that you kind of feel like you're winning every round. Oh, you've got the highest number, you get the point, but I'm the one who gets to use my ability. So it's a really lovely feeling, that. But 16 cards each, it has that kind of love letter feel in that regard.
Yeah.
But what stops it from being overly a love lettery, and I must confess, it's a small box, it's a tiny box, is there's another set of 2 sets of 16 deck cards in this. If you wanted to play another version of this, you can do. Or even like mix and match, dare I say. Those if you wanted to.
That's cool.
And also, if you want to, there's these little like landscape or place cards, which you just randomly shuffle them. You pick one, and that you have that for the round. And it might be okay.
Go on, tell us about another card.
So it might be like,
go on, you know you want to.
You might get the scrapyard. So at the end of each round, draw 2 cards instead of 1, then place 1 card from your hand under your deck.
Right. So you're doing little modifiers to kind of change up the meta of the game. Exactly.
And like you have like little factions in your cards. So it's split into 4 colours. So it's very easy to kind of tell them apart. And like, you know, you could play a card which says, okay, just name a faction. And your opposing player has to discard all of the cards of that coloured faction. So there's little things like that you can do. Like I was playing it with my wife the other day. And I played a card not because it added strategic value. I just wanted to see the chaos I could cause with my little power, which was... I played my card deliberately. It was a fairly low one because I knew my wife was going to play a higher card, so I could use this ability, which forced her to discard the card opposite me. And then I had to draw a random card from her hand and play that instead opposite me to kind of just see what would happen there. And it ended up working well for me in that instance. But I like that kind of randomness also that's in the game as well, which just makes it a little bit fun. And this is going to be a game that's going to go with me forever on holiday. Genuinely, it's like a really nice travel game that I could play quite comfortably on a plane. You know, there's no attachment stuck to the bottom of this. I could play it like in a hut or a campsite anywhere. Like it's 16 cards per. You know, I don't have to deal with any of the chits. I can just remember stuff. There are certain cards which have like ongoing abilities. So, for example, there's one you play it and it means you'll win every tie. Unless another player plays a card which can allow them to take chits or tokens off any one card on the opposing player's deck. So, like, yeah, it's not an elaborate game, but I like how lean and agile it is as a consequence. Like 15 minutes, and I've not even looked at this then at all. You can play it 4-player. I don't know what that looks like. I'm quite content at the moment in my kind of love letter world just playing with the 16 cards that I know. No frills. But I love the fact in this tiny little box, there's still all this other stuff here. And it is like £10 of time of recording.
And like small footprint, man. Like
very small footprint.
Genuinely matters.
Yeah. Like the theme is pasted on, let's be honest.
Sure.
But like genuinely, if you're at a convention this year or something, and you want to take a punt on a game, £10 dual for Cardia, you cannot go wrong.
Right, what other good end of the pier arcade games are going to be turned into board games next?
Here we go. You ready for this?
Yeah.
You know where you would put either 2p in, 10p in, 20p in, 50p in, or £1 in, and which one that you put in was the bet you could put on the mechanical horse that then ran across the thing, and if you put £1 in, you were more likely to win. I reckon it's one of them. That weird mechanical gizmo.
Isn't that already the nasty horse betting game? Isn't that already?
I suppose it is, isn't it?
That's a great game. It's one of my favourite games in my family. The really nasty horse racing.
Okay, so there's that one.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Ooh, well, there's a game that I've had my eye on for a while, which is like, I think it's called Dungeon Clawler, and that is a claw game that's a sort of roguelike RPG. I've had my eye on that one for a little while. Obviously, Peggle has brought back things like Pachinko and all that kind of thing, and there's definitely a few other games that are more recent than that.
And it's not just it's not just bottom of the pier arcade games. It's also charity pots, rejuvenating those. So a game about putting coins in a golden retriever's head.
Yep.
Or in a little plastic lifeboat.
Yeah, true.
There wasn't there one where you put it in and the lifeboat would move?
Sounds about right. Or one where you are in a museum that you haven't paid to get into because it's a free museum, and they say, "Oh, we'd really like a donation," and you go, "Oh, I should probably donate." And then you think, oh, but I could get away with it. But you're with polite company. So then and it's a clear box. So you reach into your wallet and you realize all you've got is a tenner. And then you go, oh no, I can't just put 50p in. So I'll have to put a tenner in. And then you walk away hating art.
That's a long title.
So if what we're saying is, if you want to back Peter Willington's Museum of Terror, a game about do
you know what? Actually, let's stunt to design this game now, Sam. It actually sounds great. You have to. There's a game here where you have to donate the smallest amount of money that you can to a charitable cause around others.
This is it. We will re-implement Sheriff of Nottingham, but the conceit is you've got to someone who's the museum steward has to sort of adjudicate basically judge you on how much you may or may not have donated to the cause. So it's kind of like a bluffing social deduction game.
It's called "Have you enjoyed your trip today, sir?" And and that you have to ask that as the donate, the person who's receiving the donation.
And will you have like Sheriff of Nottingham, the little cutout, the cardboard cutout of the museum security guard, like on a stand?
You have that
gets passed around.
Yeah, you have that, and you have to bluff and say, "Oh, I'm giving you a £5."
There's got to be some sort of mechanic if you pay extra to go and see a specific show. So it's just like when I was a kid, it was always like, oh, we'll go to the Natural History Museum because they've got this amazing samurai exhibition, or go and see the mummies of Thebes or whatever. But then you get there and it'd be like, yeah, but that's 30 quid. Yeah. If you want to get in for free, you can just go and see some blue whales and whatever. Yeah. But if you want to get into the good stuff, so maybe there could be a mechanic where you go and see, you pay some actual money, but then that gives you some sort of buff, some benefit when it comes to the actual giving.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah. Maybe we can make it thematic. So it could be like if you go and pay to see like an Andy Warhol exhibition, you can like duplicate some of your change. You can like manufacture more coins, or say you go and see a Dali, you can like bend some of your coins around something so it looks like you got 2 coins rather than 1.
Yeah. Or you could, you could point at a bog and go, look, there you go, there's some art. 40 quid, please, mate.
Satire.
So if you would like to back our game, then it's on Kickstarter now. It's not. But maybe one day.
Now, listener, if there are any games that you would like to see us stunt design towards the end of a podcast, then drop us an email, stayinginpod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram. That's where we post nice photos of things every once in a while and let you know when the podcast is out. I mean, you could just subscribe and that would probably do the same thing. But, you can do those. We do have a Facebook page, but Instagram's really where it's at. If you want to go find out more about all the lovely board games we've talked about before, Board Game Geek, we have a page on there. You can go and find us there that talks about all of the board games that we've ever covered over the 200 plus episodes that we've been doing this nonsense for. We have a Steam curator page, which if you follow that, basically you will, if you're browsing around on Steam and you're like, oh, I wonder if this is a good game, and if we've covered it, it will come up with our recommendation. Do we recommend it or not? And you'll be able to see that too. Lots of other great games that we've talked about on there. And of course, there is the Spotify curated list. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, well, you can go and listen to our curated list of songs that are related to stuff that we've talked about on the podcast. That Kris curates and does a very good job of it.
It's been a very sonorous episode.
It's been a very sonorous episode. Lots of clicks and whooshes and whirls and things along those lines. I guess all it leaves is for us to say goodbye to everyone.
Take care.